Hello, my name is Mark Hurley. I'm with the Lake County Forest Preserve District. I live here in Evanston and I do work with the Canal Shores golf course and the Buckthorn Buster crew, which by the way are always looking for volunteers. And we were fortunate a couple of weeks ago to have a local company come in here into Isabella Woods, which is on the border with Wilmette, and do a prescribed burn. As you can see, they started the burn on the south end of this woods and used the light wind to move it north, and the burn went right up to the private property line here. And as we look at that, it's important to note that the fire was a hot one too. As I look at it, it breaks down the leaf litter and allows for the nutrients and the minerals to get back down into the soil quicker. So you can obviously see a difference. When you have the black soil that we have after the burn, that's important in the spring because the sun will heat up the soil, which spurs the growth of native wildflowers, and it gets the seeds moving a little quicker. And just also by getting rid of a lot of this thatch or duff, it allows for the plants to grow quicker too. So I want to go back a little bit. So we are in the eastern forest. That's the section of the United States, or the 48 states that we live in. It's the deciduous trees mainly, with prairies and wetlands and other fields and things like that mixed in. There's other habitats too, but we're in the deciduous forest. Not a lot of pines, oaks, hickories, trees like that. So for thousands of years, pre and post glacial periods, there were lightning strike fires, and then Native Americans also started fire in the woods. We did not have a lot of woodland fires this side of the Des Plaines River. That's kind of the dividing line, but because it's more prairie and oak savanna over there, and the fires would burn up to the river, but they did occur here in our woods. This one was traditionally wet, kind of like Perkins Woods in Evanston, so it really never had roaring fires ripping through it, but fire has been here periodically, and it's important. So that's why we have prescribed burn companies come in and do that. For a few of the reasons I mentioned. The other reason is the non-native plants, and there are about 5,000 to 6,000 non-native plants in the United States now. Some of them become invasive, not all. A couple of the examples of the ones that become invasive and try and turn this woods or a wetland or a field into its own self, like a monoculture of itself, is European buckthorn. So here's one right here. And here's some here. Just recently, this plant, this European buckthorn, stopped growing for the year. The leaves are, we passed one earlier, the leaves were still up and green, and it's still growing. It thinks it's in Asia or Europe, and it has a really long growing season. Our native trees and shrubs have dropped their leaves in October, but European buckthorn is still going. One of the ways you can get rid of it in your yard or in other properties, in this case in Isabella Woods, is you cut it with a lopper or a saw, and then you apply an herbicide. And this one we cut a couple of years ago, but the herbicide didn't take, so you got the resprout. So once you cut it, it gets mad and it comes back. Fire is the best thing. That's the best tool to control invasive plant species, because in Europe, in the case of the buckthorn here, buckthorn has very, very thin bark. It's not fireproof like our native trees and shrubs are, because they've evolved with fire over time here in our eastern forest. So here's a buckthorn with a really nice cambium layer underneath it, the green. That's the growing part of trees and shrubs, whether they're native or not. If you get a fire coming through, it burns through the bark, and then it burns the cambium on this buckthorn. And it's not going to kill this buckthorn, it's going to top kill it. And I think even the heat helps slow this one. So cut, herbicide, fire occasionally will help knock the plant back. And then once you remove buckthorn and other invasive plants, then you want to put in the native trees and shrubs and wildflowers and grasses and things like that to get the diversity back. Because the buckthorn will take over and the diversity then goes down the tubes, and that's not healthy for the forest or the animals. So with that, the buckthorn busters are always looking for people to come out and to cut buckthorn and other non-natives, and this is a practice that you can do in your yard as well.